Okay, possible features of credit cards. The prestige cards, those with prestigious metal in the branding often have higher credit limits. Silver cards, gold cards, etc. The highest prestige card is black that I'm aware of is a black American Express, but those are for people probably with net worths in the 100+ million. Affinity cards include the logo, the sponsoring organization. The small percentage of the charges will go to that organization. It can be the university you attended. It can be your favorite sports team, so forth. Revolving lines of credit. Revolving lines of credit typically not accessed by a credit card, but are used to access funds rather than buy products. They're typically unsecured personal loans. Sometimes you can do home equity credit lines. The difference in home equity loan is effectively another mortgage on your house. They offer overdraft protection, or they can be used for overdraft protection on your bank accounts. So, concept check 7.1, 3 examples of open-ended credit. T&E cards, travel and entertainments, open-ended credit cards issued by non-banks that indicating the holder has been granted a line of credit. The American Express, Diners Club, retail sellers, businesses, they offer credit cards to enhance loyalty. Target, Macy's, Lowe's, Kohl's, any number of other places, department stores, and so forth. And again, these cards are recently have begun to look more and more like bank cards because they've been shifted over to credit cards where they can. Historically, you could only use those cards at the store, but that is changing. These payments are collected by MasterCard and Visa and so forth. So there's very little difference between these cards in that case. Bank credit cards, accounts issued by commercial banks, other financial institutions. Visa and MasterCard are the biggest name. There's Discover and many others as well. Concept check 7.1 continued. Open-end credit. Open-end credit is a form of credit extended in advance of any transaction. Typically, it will involve repeated, known as revolving transaction, like a credit card. With open-end credit, finance charges are imposed when there's an outstanding balance. The retailer or bank agrees to allow the customer to make purchases making purchases is effectively borrowing. So, and up to a specified amount, your credit limit. Distinguish between unsecured credit line and a home equity line of credit. Unsecured line of credit does not have collateral. A home equity line of credit, sometimes called a second mortgage, is a type of loan in which the borrower uses the equity in their home as collateral. Okay, managing credit cards. The key to managing credit cards is understanding the information in your billing statement. So you have the statement date, that's the date that it's issued, or the closing of the statement. Payment due date is typically 3 to 4 weeks later. You pay when your payment is due. After that date, you're considered delinquent. Charges are you pay interest, And if you don't make your minimum payment, you'll incur additional charges. Transaction and posting dates. Transaction date is the actual date of the transaction. Posting is when the company or store you purchase it from actually posts it. Typically, with large companies, these transaction and posting dates occur pretty quickly. But if it's with smaller companies, sometimes they'll post transaction in batches. At the end of the business day, it could be even several days later. Previous unpaid balance is what if you have an unpaid balance, you're going to pay interest, and typically you're going to pay interest on that unpaid balance plus any charges from the date that they're made. So, minimum payment due is the minimum amount you can pay without incurring a charge in addition to finance charges. As I mentioned previously, it can take up to 10 years to pay off the balance making the minimum payment. Transaction fees or fees charged for transactions, exactly what they said. You should get, you're supposed to get credit for returns and errors. You have to keep track of that and make sure that you receive those credits and so forth. Penalty rates, much higher rates are incurred if you miss payments. Avoid the minimum payment trap. Minimum payment on a credit card is typically 3 or 4% of the balance, barely enough to pay the interest for the month. As a result, making the minimum payment will reduce the amount owed very little, and can be not at all if you have any charges made since the billing date. Yeah. All right. We'll start the next lecture with finance charges.